Good morning, everybody. This is Eric Simkin, and this is Damon Galdo, my co-host. You are watching The Political Badass. We are here to unpack everything relevant to the upcoming election. Thank you very much for joining us today. I wanted to start out with a video this morning. This is what we're looking at that's on the ballot. I would call it Harris Walz versus American freedom. Take a look.
All right.
Those people told you for days in advance that if the university sought to go ahead with that construction, they were going to physically destroy the university. Why did you
negotiate many times?
Negotiate? What is to negotiate? What is...
University is a public institution.
That's right. But the university...
its own community and for the community of Berkeley that live around it.
All of it began the first time some of you who know better and are old enough to know better let young people think that they had the right to choose the laws they would obey as long as they were doing it in the name of social protest.
I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
I'm sick and tired of the argument about whether some effort to enforce law and order is going to escalate anything at all. Plain truth of the matter is this has to stop, and it has to stop like the day before yesterday.
I mean, is it normal to let your biggest city in your state burn while you're the governor for 4 days, destroying thousands of businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage while you do nothing? Does that sound normal? Is it normal for your wife to say she opened the window so she could let the smell of tire fires waft in so they could take in the smells of this radical chaos and anarchy on the streets of Minneapolis?
I would like to propose that the issue is that on the campuses, you who are adults, you who are entrusted with those young people and their guidance, have a responsibility to make it plain to them from the very beginning that you yourselves do not tolerate the kind of conduct that has led to the burning of Wheeler Hall, that has led to 2 murders on the campus of UCLA.
You created an atmosphere on the campus where no one wants to listen. No,
you are a liar.
From the river to the sea. I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of the Jewish people.
When I was asked if a call for the genocide of Jewish people on our campus would violate our policies. In that moment, I was focused on our university's longstanding policies aligned with the U.S. Constitution, which say that speech alone is not punishable.
I have read and I have been questioned since I've been here about certain demonstrations against my coming. And I would like to say just one thing, and to those who demonstrate so. I wonder if they have ever asked themselves that if they should have the kind of government they apparently seek, no one would ever be able to do what they're doing again.
Anything, and I have a feeling that if you check closely on some of the more militant of those leaders who are advocating violence, you will find that if you settle whatever issue it is that has them worked up today, they'll be back tomorrow morning with another issue. But I think the time has come for them to make a choice and to decide whether they want to continue to even tolerate these false prophets in their midst, who are, if anything, destroying their own community. I don't think that taking to the streets and rioting and disorder has ever solved anything or ever will. Those who would trade our freedom for the soup kitchen of the welfare state have told us they have a utopian solution of peace without victory. They call their policy accommodation. And they say if we'll only avoid any direct confrontation with the enemy, he'll forget his evil ways and learn to love us. All who oppose them are indicted as warmongers. They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple. If you and I have the courage to tell our elected officials that we want our national policy based on what we know in our hearts is morally right, we cannot buy our security, our freedom from the threat of the bomb, by committing an immorality so great as saying to 1 billion human beings now enslaved behind the Iron Curtain, give up your dreams of freedom. Because to save our own skins, we're willing to make a deal with your slave master.
I lived in China, and as I said, I've been there about 30 times, but I don't fall into the category that China necessarily needs to be an adversarial relationship.
Set up a program to take high school kids to China every summer for nearly a decade.
Recently, in some places in the nation, there's been a disturbing reoccurrence of bigotry and violence. If I may, from the platform of this organization, known for its tolerance, I would like to address a few remarks to those groups who still adhere to senseless racism and religious prejudice. To those individuals who persist in such hateful behavior, if I were speaking to them instead of to you, I would say to them, you are the ones who are out of step with our society. You are the ones who willfully violate the meaning of the dream that is America. And this country, because it's what it stands for, will not stand for your conduct. There are cities in Michigan. Oh, shut up.
People cursed his name, bowed at the altar of the father of lies. But there's a number to their days and all their evil ways. The Lord's gonna turn away from all their cries.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Political Badass Podcast. You're Damon Galdo here with my co-host Eric Simpkin, and that clip with all Reagan there. It's one of my favorite presidents. But now I have a new favorite president, number one, Donald J. Trump, who will be the president this November. Well, in January, I would say, after we voted him in November. So that's why we got to get everyone out there to vote. So I just want to give you a little history to start this podcast, how Eric and I met. I was running for Congress in 2024, and I met Eric about a year ago. And the first conversation I had with him, we hit it off. We knew we were on the same page with everything. We both had the drive to get the message out there. Both cared about this state, this country, cared about the future for our children, cared about all the same things. And the main thing when it boils down to, we cared about common sense. It's two words, common sense. And Eric came up, I was on the radio show 92.1, and Eric came up with the idea of doing a podcast, and he handed me his business card, and it said Eric Simpkin, political badass. And I was it was funny. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to do a podcast. And I was like, I would love to, be with you on that. So we started this up. Eric went crazy with all this setup down here in his basement, set up the whole studio, and I thank him for that. And it's awesome. And he's the man, and we get along great, and we agree on the same things. And we just really want to get the message out there to everybody and how important it is to vote in November, and just talk about the facts and give people the information and an easy way to find it. So as always, you can go to ericstimpson.com and everything will be on there, or just watch our podcast all the time. That's an easy one. So I'm going to turn it over to the heavyweight champion of information, the original political badass, Eric Simpkin.
Thank you very much, my friend Damon. And hello, everybody that's watching. Thank you for taking your time to tune in and listen and watch what's going on. And if you're watching the same thing that I'm seeing with what's going on, your stomach's turning, you're getting anxiety, you start to sweat a little bit at nighttime. What's it going to be like tomorrow when I wake up? What am I going to see on the news? What's going on? I mean, these things are all really at this point shiny new objects. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of effort being placed from the left to the right to try and keep us off our game, get us divided up. Hopefully Trump will say something that'll get somebody upset, whether it's women, whether it's Latino community or anybody. It doesn't matter. Okay. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate. What we have right now on the ticket, what is on the ballot, is socialism, which really is communism. It's just in a different form in how they gain control. And Americanism, freedom, free enterprise, capitalism, supply and demand, basic things that drive our economy. Okay. Energy. When you think about energy and they talk to you about wind and solar, those things only produce energy at the same time during the day. They don't have enough space on the grid to even let us produce more energy. What they're going to do is they are going to control us. When you have state-sponsored energy and the government's in control, It's like anything else they try and control, like our public education system. They control that. There's a United States Department of Education that promulgates the most radical type of cultural color war. I mean, whatever you want to call it, they're radicals. I mean, I just saw at a Harris Walz rally yesterday, a teacher and educator, something that I hold very sacred. My entire family has been educators in some capacity. And this teacher stood up and she said, I got into education because I saw education for what it really was. And she said, it's the greatest instrument of social justice in the country. Social justice, those are two words that, like many others, like diversity, like inclusion, like equity replacing equality. Social justice used to be a good thing. It was to try and help people that don't have fairness in their lives, the way they're treated because of whatever group they're in, to give them equal opportunities. And social justice was to rise people up and to help those who struggle because of the way they were born for whatever reason. And under that same guise today, they use it to divide oppressor versus oppressed. Now, good is considered weakness. When you're weak, it's a good thing. And when you're strong, it's a really bad thing. And these people are using words like ally. I like the word ally. I consider so many people my ally, my friend, someone that supports you. That's not what these people mean by ally. When you look at a DEI initiative and you start reading the definitions as they define them, an ally is somebody that has a privilege that uses those privileges to help others that don't have those same privileges. That is not what I consider an ally. The NJEA, the New Jersey Education Association, their president, Sean Spiller, the Democrats are putting him up as a candidate to run this state in the gubernatorial election for 2025. That is a scary thing for me, because what do when they look at a group of teachers that come to the first meeting? They don't look and say, what kind of quality education can I give my students? They don't judge the teachers by how good of a teacher they are. They pick which ones are good by which ones they can declare as activists. And that's a fact based on Facebook posts from Sean Spiller, who is the NJEA president. And if you take a look at the NEA president, okay, she was in Philadelphia on July 5th. Do you remember July 5th?
Yes, I do. Very much so.
What were we doing July 5th?
We were out there letting people know, educating the people about the NJEA and just talking about the issues, talking about what they're teaching in schools. And I don't know if you have that clip available, ready to put it up again when you were out there with the bullhorn. It was great, actually. Eric was out there. He had the bullhorn. He's talking to people. And then one of the teachers came up to him and he said, I'm going to record. Are you okay with that? And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So Eric's asking him questions. And that's the best thing, too. That's why I like to talk to people more that disagree than agree. I mean, I love talking to people that agree with me. But when someone that disagrees with you, then you just ask them simple questions and they back themselves into a corner. So Eric just asked them straight questions over and over again. And so, well, where are you getting your news from? Well, where did you hear that from? And he couldn't come up with the answer. And that's what it is. That's what the radical left does. They go with these radical ideas, but they can't back them up. It's just, it's common sense. I'm going to bring it back to that. And it was funny. And then his wife had to come in and save, not Eric's wife, the guy he was talking to. I forget what his name was, but his wife came in to try to save him and said, "Oh, no consent. You can't, you can't video." He said, "Well, I asked for consent." And he said, "Okay." And then, of course, as the radical left does, when they don't agree and you prove them wrong, then they give him a big FU and she gave him middle finger and then drug her husband away. And that's why actually Eric and I were on Steve Diorgo show yesterday, 92.1, and Steve did mention something about, women want a manly man. Most women do. And that's what it's supposed to be that way. And I wrote this thing called When Did They Stop Making Men? Well, I guess they stopped making it when that guy was born, because his wife came and drug him right away, gave Eric the middle finger and said F you and said no consent. It was embarrassing for him, I'll tell you that. But it was embarrassing more the fact that he couldn't answer the questions. He couldn't answer Eric's questions. Eric was asking simple, common sense questions, and he's like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know. Well, where'd you get that information?" He said, "Where'd you get it?" And he's like, "Well, people say it. I don't know." So it was hilarious, but it was sad though.
It really was sad, and what I saw from that, I asked this gentleman, "Where'd you get your news?" He told me PBS. Okay, really suggested to him maybe you should check out my website, ericsimkin.com. It's got all sorts of unbiased news sources, and that site also has a lot of things we're gonna be talking about today, and that is, what are you gonna do for November 5th? Are you gonna go out and vote? Absolutely, you're gonna go out and vote. You should really get yourself a mail-in ballot and order one. Why do I ask you to do that? We ask you to do that because if you order a mail-in ballot and you go into that voter booth and go to vote, or when you arrive at your voting location, and they say to you, "I'm sorry, Eric, you already voted." And I say to them, "That's impossible because I have my mail-in ballot right here in a sealed envelope." Then you know you've got a major problem. That's as far as I'm going to go with election integrity. As of right now, it's too late for you really to get involved with exact election integrity, but it's not really, because you can go and volunteer to be a poll worker, a poll watcher. You can go to the polling station when you get that license from your county, and you can go and see if there's anything weird going on at your polling place. That's what you can do. We're about 80 days away from the election, and I'm telling you right now, it's not the most consequential election. It's not the most important election of your lifetime. It's the last election of your lifetime if Donald J. Trump does not win that election. And that's 100% fact. I mean, the things that they're pushing on the other side of things are so radical and crazy. I mean, I can't even imagine waking up, okay, on November 6th, 2024, if we don't win this election. So I need you all to become what I call force multipliers. I didn't name this podcast The Political Badass because I'm some sort of badass tough guy. I'm really not. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm a sensitive person. I care about others. Okay. And I really don't like confrontation.
He's very sensitive.
All right. I am very sensitive. I mean, don't tell me what not to do. You find out real quick how sensitive I am. But the big deal here is that I need people involved. You know, it's not just that you're going to go vote for Donald Trump and every Republican down ticket. And by the way, I'd love to reach out to people that are not making that consideration and help work to make them make that consideration to vote for Donald Trump, because really that's what's most important. I'm not going to come and push my ideas on you, and neither does Donald Trump. You know, people say to me sometimes, you know, "Oh, well, whatever he says, you're just going to do it." That's not how it works. When you're a MAGA, okay, MAGA, like on my shirt. And by the way, this is the Trumpomania shirt from the
You
RNC.
gonna rip it off?
I mean, I'm not in shape enough to rip it off. Okay, I mean, I would, but I don't want to scare the audience away for sure. And that's very likely if I did. But don't listen. But let me tell you something, okay? Like I said, don't be involved with me and tell me what not to do. I am the guy that drives around with the bullhorn in my truck. I'm not afraid to stand up for what I believe is right, because really you can't get in trouble for speaking the truth. I mean, they try and lock people up for speaking the truth, but they're not going to lock me up for speaking the truth and getting the word out. You know, I really started this podcast along with Damon because one of the people I follow, Stephen K. Bannon, got locked up. Stephen Bannon used to be a trusted advisor of Donald Trump in the White House. He's an economist. He knows a lot and he knows everybody. And he's got the real scoop on everything. He's on Real America's Voice. His podcast and his show is called The War Room. And pretty much I learned most of what I know about becoming active by that show. And when they locked him up, I said to myself, well, I'm just going to have to start this podcast. I'm going to have to pick up and get to the local people around me. And if I get to 10 people, I'd be happy. But my goal is to get 10,000 people to vote for Donald Trump, whether they were going to vote for him anyway or not. It's to get out to the polls. I mean, I'm just watching what's going on this week. What did I see that was disturbing? I don't know. You see the head of the Olympics. I mean, they say that it's impossible for them any longer to say what a woman is. And that goes back to the social justice issue. I mean, to me, if you ask me what is a woman, it's an adult female, right? It's pretty simple, isn't it, Damon?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if you ever saw What is a Woman by Matt Walsh.
It was a great, that's a great show.
So, I mean, it was great how that documentary was awesome. It was really good. And when in the congressional hearing, when they were voting in Ketanji Brown Jackson, she was asked, can you define what a woman is? And she said, no, I can't. Now, she's a woman. So, again, I always have to bring it back to common sense. I hate saying it so much, but that's what it is. It's common sense. A woman can't define what a woman is. She says, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical expert. Well, in that documentary, What is a Woman, when he asked one of the guys, it was an older gentleman, and I think he was a war veteran, and he said, well, how do you know that you're a man? And he goes, because I have it. And it was that simple, and I mean, that's common sense. And it was a funny segment of that documentary, but it's that simple. And when he said it, I almost fell off my chair laughing. My wife, same thing. So it's very simple. Man is a man, woman is a woman.
Right. And so that goes back to my point of what I was talking about with this teacher at the Harris rally. I mean, she literally said that she sees education as the biggest instrument of social justice in the country. I mean, wouldn't it be smart to define the public education system as the greatest instrument of creating productive members of a society for our children, so that we can pass down the values that we've been passed down from countless generations before us and pass those down to countless generations after us? Education, classic education, reading, math, science, history, not social science, things of that nature. That's what my parents believed education was for the 30 plus years that they served in their local communities as educators, principal, vice principal, teachers in my family. And, the epitaph on my grandfather, his tombstone quotes Deuteronomy 6:7, and thou shalt teach them diligently to thy children. And when they say them, it means the word of God that have been passed down. We can't teach about God in our education system anymore. So they've replaced God with DEI. That's really what they're doing. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is basically the new state-sponsored religion. And then, not just from an education standpoint and school board members that are also radicalized and running our schools, but you have the New Jersey Education Association. I was just starting to speak of that, and that's why I asked you about what we did on July 5th. And just after July 5th, when we were out there protesting their national convention, because really they have no place in deciding curriculum or policies in public schools, the president of the NEA was inside that building making a speech that really, if you look at this and what their agenda is, they are really replacing parents. They're not here to help parents raise children. And it is a law of the land that parents, and I would include guardians, they have the sole discretion, the sole right to direct the upbringing of their child in America. No one else has the right to force something that you don't want being taught to your children to be taught to them. There are things that should be excluded from education, things that are controversial, things that don't make sense, things that are against people's religions, for example, all these rights that we have. The problem is that the left uses these things against us. They use things and they claim that this is a First Amendment right, but then they use it as a weapon against us. They don't use it as a tool to achieve more freedom. They use it to hurt other people. Let me just show you a little bit about what was going on July 5th with this NEA president and what was going on the street outside at the same time. Take a look at this.
Because in the midst of every challenge, during every moment of change or perceived chaos, we will remember who we are. We are the ones who helped to shape the heart of this nation's hopes and dreams.
Stop the indoctrination and sexualization of children in public schools. NEA is not an elected office or official. They have no right to influence the curriculum, the policies in our public schools.
Students are depending on us to win all the things. NEA, we have to win all the things, all the things, all the things. Going NEA to preserve our democracy, we must win all the things because we are the NEA. We are the NEA. We are the NEA. And that's what we do.
Parental rights, parental rights, parental rights, parental rights. Parental rights rule, and they are the rule of law in America.
Like a dark train running, go get ready coming back again.
Preserve democracy. Perceived chaos. They create chaos so that they can come cure the chaos. The problem is it's not working out so well, is it, Damon?
No, it's not, Eric. I mean, who would want her teaching your child? We would have to win all the things. What do you mean win all the things? What is your platform? What are you planning to do? And I'm going to take this to Kamala Harris too, that hasn't taken a question from any journalist in 23 days. And she's running for president without one vote. Was never voted in. 14 million votes for Joe Biden. I mean, even Donald Trump, as I know how he is, he even gave it to Joe Biden. He said, I don't like the man. He said, but they stole his presidency from him.
Well, my theory on what's going to happen in the coming weeks, right, Damon? I mean, I think I mentioned to you the other night. Here's my political badass, prediction for you. They're going to replace either Harris or Walz on that ticket during the convention. Because don't forget, they might have had a vote of the delegates, but according to this book right here, it's called Robert's Rules of Order. This is what every single committee in the country, from your school board, fire commissioners, all the way up to the United States Senate, House, and every level of government in between, uses to make the rules of law in their committees. And basically, these delegates, they can come and say, I want to change my vote. That's my opinion. This is such a train wreck for them. I mean, she can't go talk to anybody because, as Donald Trump says, really, she's too dumb. I mean, at the end of the day, the woman did start out basically soliciting sex to high value judges, to start off her career.
Willie Brown,
their way to the top. I mean, Willie Brown, married man, right? Had a family, family is destroyed. But, you mentioned a word there, Damon, that we'll talk about. And that word was platform. What is the Democrat platform? I have no idea, other than chaos, Marxism, communism. Give people more that don't have anything only by taking from anyone that's worked hard in their life to achieve something.
Well, the thing is, they don't have a platform. Kamala Harris's website has no platform as of now.
That's interesting, Damon.
Yeah, it has no platform whatsoever. She says it's going to be updated, and she's going to go out there and talk to people. Everything she does is on script, and she reads from a teleprompter, so she can't go off script at all because, like Eric said, and like Donald Trump said, she's stupid. I'm sorry, but facts don't care about your feelings, as Ben Shapiro says all the time. It's a fact. She's stupid. So they want to do the basement strategy like they did with Joe Biden. They want to keep her away from answering her own questions, and they want to have it all scripted. And you can see them shuffling her away, just like they shuffle Joe Biden away all the time. But Joe Biden was a houseplant. Joe Biden is Weekend at Bernie's dead. She at least is alive. And she can't answer questions. That's how stupid she is. And I hate to say it about somebody. I don't like to then say things like that about people, but it's just a fact.
Well, listen, we can put feelings to the side because that's all these people do is talk about your feelings. Okay,
that's right.
I mean, anyone that knows me knows if you hurt my feelings, I don't even talk about it because I only have one really. So I say feeling in the singular, right? And really, to be honest with you, I could care less. Okay, sticks and stones may break my bones. All right. That's how it used to work in schools. I mean, now it doesn't work that way. But, speaking of platforms, who does have a platform? The GOP, Grand Old Party, and it's run by Donald J. Trump. He had the platform rewritten for the GOP because I got to be honest with you. I looked at it last year and I was looking at the platform and I was like, I was kind of wondering, like, what is the actual platform of the GOP these days? When's the last time it was changed? It wasn't changed for a while. Number one on the GOP platform, by the way, where do you find it? That's the key. We're not just giving you information. We're here with the receipts. How do you find this information? How do you learn the talking points to get your friends that might not be thinking about voting for Trump, or maybe they just don't feel like voting? You got to make sure they get a mail-in ballot. Teach them about going in early for early voting if you're here in New Jersey. In most states, we used to have election day. Now we got election weeks and months, as we all know. It's ridiculous. But number one on that platform that Donald J. Trump had rewritten, and it's at donaldjtrump.com. It's his official website and the official website for the GOP. Seal the border and stop the immigrant invasion. I mean, that's number one. That's affecting every single family in this country, whether it's 5 million, 8 million, 10 million, or 20 million illegal immigrants as come to this country. That's just the tip of the iceberg, because let's not forget about procreation. I mean, we're talking our kids out of procreation in the schools every day. You got Planned Parenthood there. If they don't get you there, we're teaching you how to have promiscuous sex with all the radical sex ideology and sexuality and gender theory classes that they give you. If they don't stop you from having children there, they got Planned Parenthood to give you some some puberty blockers. There's no such thing as a puberty blocker. It stops it. And if they don't get you there, they got you on the abortion thing. So in America, okay, 94% this year of the population growth in America was not from Americans. It was from people outside America. And that's a fact. I'm not saying people can't come here and have babies. The problem is we're all paying the bills. So if you got 10 million people here right now today, let's just say that's a small number because I believe it's more like 15 or 20 million every year. Some of those families and some of those women are going to be having babies because they get paid to have those babies and we pay more. Okay. You don't like your 42% overall tax rate? Take a look at immigration. I think it's a little bit of a problem.
Eric, I want to mention something about Planned Parenthood.
Go ahead. Let's talk.
So Planned Parenthood, their number one supplier of puberty blockers now.
Yeah, it's a business. I mean,
but
they're a drug dealer.
Does it make sense to you? Like Planned Parenthood means to me that you plan to be a parent.
Well, it's not what it meant to Margaret Sanger, who started Planned Parenthood. She was actually a total 100% racist, okay? And the black families and black communities, Latin families and communities, especially in inner cities, they've been taking your babies for decades and decades and decades, talking you out of parenthood, talking you out of the nuclear family. I mean, some of us are just lucky we still have a nuclear family. I mean, me, I'm divorced. It was tough. You know, I had that breakdown in my own household. I had to work much harder to make sure that the values were shared in two households. Fortunately, I don't even like saying my ex-wife. She's my wife, and I will love her and do anything for her forever because she is the mother of my beautiful children. I still have those values, you know, even though we're not still living in the same house, but there's many that don't. Dissuasion of having babies. I mean, it's just an unbelievable thing, damn. It's really pathetic. How about this? Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. I mean, does anyone really have a problem with that? Oh, no, you can't just take somebody that got here. I get it. Let's start with the violent criminals in prison, right? That's the game
Absolutely.
plan.
That's
And
what
then you
Trump
work
said.
your way backwards. I mean, personally, if it was me, I'd take a different approach. I'd say people that got here the last, they're the first ones to go.
Exactly.
But Donald Trump has, obviously a good head on his shoulders and decent people advising him for the most part.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of people that their family members are here illegally,
Right,
but have been here
understood.
for 20 years and they're still
And-
illegal,
right.
and they're afraid of it. But
I understand.
I mean,
that.
that's what he said. The ones that came here first, the ones that came over to Biden administration, Trump said 20 million, 15 to 20 million last time he gave that press conference. But it's probably it's at least over 10 million. So that's guaranteed. So the 10 million that came in under the Biden administration, because there's a lot of them that were from these terrorist countries. I mean, on terrorist watch lists. And you had, I'm coming from China.
99 just the other day was the number I saw.
99?
I think it's higher than that. I mean, that's just that's just what they're telling us today. I mean, they're allowed to tell us and we're allowed to now repeat it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the real number is. I don't think anyone does. I mean, go ask Mayorkas. I mean, you think he knows?
No,
I mean, he's doing his job perfectly. His job is to destroy America. Let's make that straight. Anthony Blinken, okay, another cabinet member. That man's family gave so much money to the Soros Foundation that they changed the name of the foundation they were donating to the Blinken Foundation. Okay, you got Merrick Garland. Okay, he's another charmer. Okay, I mean, thankfully he's not on the Supreme Court because that's what they were trying to do before. But what he's doing now, another destroyer of America. I mean, these people are in charge of a whole lot of stuff that affects me and you. Okay, and his son-in-law. Speaking of education, he owns and started Panorama, which is the biggest survey company on the planet for public education. And that's why I got into this really hard and heavy, because when they asked my daughter if we fly an American flag at our house during COVID, okay, on a survey, an illegal survey, a rogue survey, where the teacher went on to say that the reason they asked is because flying an American flag is racist. That's really what happened.
I heard about that yesterday for the first time when you told me about it.
Did you?
Yeah. So did we lose our cameras? Okay, we're good.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So but yeah, you told me that yesterday and I couldn't believe it. American flag is racist, and they asked kids in school. And then you had mentioned yesterday when we were talking how I teach my kids certain words. I said, well, if you ever hear this word in school, I want to know. I gave them a list of about a dozen words, and if you ever hear this, just let Dad know, and then I'll take care of it. They don't really know why I'm asking that, because they're too young for that. That's a whole reason why they shouldn't have transgenderism in school and pornographic books in school, because their minds aren't developed enough. So I just gave them a set of words and said, if you ever hear the white guilt, if you ever hear about you're born racist or anything like that, But there's about a dozen words that I gave him. I said, if you ever hear it, just tell Dad, and I'll take it from there. And they don't know why I'm asking them that, but they know that they will. And my daughter did tell me that there was a couple that she heard in school, and she came back and she told me.
That's amazing. And that's what parents need to do, because as I always say, if you ask your kid at the end of the day, hey, how was school today? What are they going to tell you? Fine. What'd you learn about? What'd you do? Nothing. That's what happens. I mean, it happened with my kids. And speaking of which, you start talking to kids about some of this radical stuff. I mean, the kids can't make decisions on their own. My kids couldn't pick out whether they wanted chicken fingers, French fries, or pizza for dinner. And that's probably still true at 19 years old today. Right. So ending inflation, that's the next one on the list here. End inflation, make America affordable again. How are you going to end inflation? It starts with energy. We got more oil under our feet than anywhere else on the planet. We're on our way to global dominance on oil production. Listen, is there climate issues? Is the surface temperature of the earth getting warmer year over year? It is slightly. Is it caused by humans? It probably is. The problem is that we have a society based on economics and freedom. And when you start messing around with people's energy production and what they can use and what they can't and why, you start to invade their freedoms. And when I say invade, I mean making sure that we cannot have single family homes because we can't afford them anymore. I mean, that's
Eric,
the problem.
The difference is between that. Now, a lot of people aren't having children. So if you're going to blame it on human beings, for global warming and everything like that, and which I'm sure we contribute to it, absolutely. But the Earth does that on its own. It's a scientific fact that it does it on its own every so many years. I forget, every billion years, whatever it might be. But the only difference is human beings, they have the ability to adapt. We evolve and we adapt to whatever situation that we have. But no, what we're not going to adapt to is not having children and not having human beings on the planet.
Well, that's called the Mendoza line. And you just connected a couple of dots for us, okay? Between education, we just talked about it, okay? Education and population control. That's what's going on. Look at the pandemic, okay? Everybody, dots being connected. Pandemic killed a lot of people. Education, okay? It's the number one social justice tool in society today, according to the teachers that are running it. And by the way, when the NJEA talks about their hiring process and things of that nature, and when they really talk about what their political action committee puts their money towards to elect officials, that's what they do. Okay, that's what they do. They're a PAC. They try and get people elected that are called pro-education. Then you got another group of people, parents. Okay, pro-education candidates or pro-parent candidates. How is that two different things? But it is. The line's been drawn on the sand between parents and children. And that is where the divide is really in this country. Okay. You got 50 million pupils, 50 million students across America in public schools, 5 million here in New Jersey, or 1,000,001 in New Jersey. Okay. They're raising an army. They're raising your children if you're not involved in your children's life and you accept the answer of fine and nothing when you ask your children what they learn and what they do today. That's what they're doing to our families. It's clear. I mean, I met a nice young woman the other day, and the conversation was so nice. She said, I'm never having children. Ugh, I wouldn't even want to have children. I mean, that's your choice though in America. Okay. But it's our choice on how our children are raised and educated. And there is the dots being connected.
You're right. Yeah, and like I always say, like everyone says, I don't not everyone, but people that like-minded like us, I don't co-parent with the government.
Listen, I could barely afford to co-parent with my ex-wife. I'm certainly not going to be co-parenting with anyone else. Okay, let me tell you that right now.
But I want to bring it right back to inflation real quick. I wanted to make a note about Kamala Harris. If you look at all of her speeches at her rallies, she's like, what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on bringing down inflation. And well, you're the vice president.
What are you doing now about
it?
I mean, I don't know. She made a phone call to Joe Biden, but he was comatose on the beach this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked like, unfortunately. Okay.
So now we're supposed to believe, okay, she's the vice president. She's been a part of every choice made in that White House, pretty much, because Joe Biden is a houseplant. So now that she wants to be president, now she's going to do something about it?
She is actually. And all right. So this was added to the Democrat platform just yesterday by Kamala Harris.
Depends what state she's in.
I mean, is she black? Is she Indian?
Well, it depends what state she's
a
in.
good friend of mine who is black, he's one of my best friends in life for over 30 years. He said, Eric, I got to come on your podcast because I can simply say things you can't. Okay. And I understand that and I respect it. Okay. But he said, when we say black, we mean descendants of slaves. Okay. She was not a descendant of slaves. She was born in India, raised Indian, and her father is Jamaican, and he's a Jamaican radical Marxist professor from Cambridge University.
And her grandfather?
But her grandfather owned slaves and sold them as part of the East Indies trading company.
All right, let's get to the next one.
But guess what, though? Going back to it, she did add something to the platform. Very interesting. She had a brilliant idea.
What was that?
Except for it wasn't hers. No tax on tips.
Oh,
That
yeah.
just came out yesterday.
I heard that yesterday.
There you go.
Yeah.
She's coming out with some great stuff. The only problem is she's parroting it from the next president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, 47. And speaking of Donald J. Trump, 47, how do you get active? What can you do? It's a little too late to go and organize in your town on your own. The good news is there's about 400,000 patriots out there that already have. And it's organized under a group called Trump Force 47. I actually got a call from the other day, and they were just calling to see how I'm going to vote. I said, what do you mean? How am I going to vote? Ultra MAGA. What do you think? She laughed at me, but she said, no, how? Are you going to go early? Are you going to do a mail-in ballot? Or are you going to go day of? I said, like most Republicans, I really want to go day of. The problem is there's way too many excuses and reasons why we don't do that. So what I chose to do last year for the first time was vote early. For 2 weeks before the election, you can go there. There's about 8 people sitting around, which we're paying for to get a few votes. But the bottom line is there was no lines, no issues. I walked in happy as could be. Everyone was nice and friendly. I cast my vote early, and I knew it was banked because that's what the Democrats are doing, but they're doing it with mail-in ballots. And like I said, go get yourself a mail-in ballot. And if you have any reason why you can't, go and find someone that can help you go vote. It's not hard anymore. If you got Facebook, you can go and take a look at the Facebook groups in your area. Look at the towns, Republican clubs. If you aren't sure how to do that on Facebook, go ahead and Google your county GOP, your county Republican committee. Someone there will take the call and help you vote. That I can assure you, because we have to get everyone out. We have it's got the win here has to be too big to rig.
Yeah,
that's
and
the bottom line.
I just want to mention something about ballot harvesting. The Democrats are known for that, ballot harvesting, and that's why I'm very glad that Elon Musk said that he would donate $45 million per month to Trump's campaign for ballot harvesting, because the Democrats pay people to do it. But you don't have to get paid to do that. If you want to volunteer to harvest ballots, I think in New Jersey you can get 3 ballots per person. So you can knock on somebody's door. You can go to a nursing home or wherever it might be, and just say, "Hey, listen, would you like to fill out a ballot?" And I will deliver it for you.
But you can promote voting to an infinite number of people. It's not limited to 3 whatsoever. That's just if you're going to pick up their ballot.
Yes.
Okay. So, Damon, before the show this morning, I was talking to you about Turning Point Action, the unbelievable job they're doing. They aggregated a whole bunch of great data that has every one of your neighbors in there. It's free. You go to Turning Point Action, tpaction.com/app. And what you do is you just pick up the app. Okay. And I'm going to just show you exactly how it works on the screen right now. Okay, so you download the app and you can see register to vote. If someone hasn't voted, you hand it to them and help them register to vote. You can make calls or send text. When you pull up make calls, it brings up the 15 closest people. And look who the first person closest to me is, Eric Simpkin. It's got my correct number. And if you look down there, it even shows you who's got their mail-in ballot and who returned it, what's going on with their ballots, and everything's there. And it gives you the script of what to say to people. They can't possibly make it any easier for you to go out and get the vote. Turning Point Action, that's who that runs that app. And a very similar app to that is actually sponsored by the Republican Jewish Coalition. I want you to go check this out. Fellow Jews out there, I happen to be Jewish. Okay, if I was born in a Christian household, I'd be Christian. You know, that's how it works. You just are where you were born. Okay, but I am Jewish, and I'm disappointed that there's not more voters out there, Jewish voters, that are declaring their full support for Trump. But I don't need you to. I just need you to vote for Trump. They've got a phone bank set up. I want you to go to the website. It's the Republican Jewish Coalition. They've got a system just like this with an app. You can log into the app. It's loaded with Jewish voters all over the country. Right now, they're putting a great deal of effort into Pennsylvania so we can win that as a swing state. But if you're Jewish, if you're not Jewish, and you want to help support and get out the messaging to Jewish voters everywhere, go to the Republican Jewish Coalition and learn how to do it. They've got some great people there. I met them. They're kind people. They will help you get acclimated to the technology. It's easy to do, easy to use, and you do it from the comfort of your own home when you can and how you can. Please take a look at these source of information. Please do that. Okay. Next on the list, large tax cuts, no tax on tips. Defend our constitutions, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. These are the biggies. This is from the Bill of Rights, First Amendment, freedom of speech. You're allowed to have discourse with your government. Does it mean, Damon, it's free speech that you can come to me and be aggressive towards me? No, that's not what free speech is. If you're not sure what free speech is, take a look at a pocket constitution. I carry them around with me every time. If you see me out and about, ask me for one. I guarantee you I got one in my pocket. This is the reminder for me of why I'm doing this podcast, what America stands for, and what I want to leave to my future grandchildren, great grandchildren, countless generations.
Is there anything wrong with that on the platform, do you think?
Is there anything wrong with it?
Yeah, I hear Democrats complain about the whole Republican platform.
Only if they haven't read it. I mean, they try to go right to the biggest single issue, voting issue.
Project 25.
Project 25.
Trump never even read that.
Okay, but let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with Project 25. Okay, that's a method that communists use. They take organizations and ideals and action items that are against communism, and they mock them and they make people believe that they're not good. Project 25, basically what it is, there's about 4,000 appointed people that go along with the presidency. 4,000 appointments. I don't mean like make an appointment, go talk to somebody. I mean, these are jobs. These are deep state jobs. There's 4,000 of them that a president brings in on day one. The problem with the last presidency that Donald Trump has is he didn't shit can all of them. That's really the problem. Okay. Yeah. So it's Project 25 with Heritage Foundation was formed, and they want to find those 4,000 people as suggestions. Are some of their ideas a little bit, far out there? Yeah, but I can promise you this, they're not further out to the right than the radical left is out to the left. And when I say out, I mean out to lunch, out to dinner, and there's not going to be any lunch or dinner if we follow their platform.
That is correct.
All right, but single issue vote, what's that mean? It means abortion, really, to most women, right? Reproductive rights, healthcare, universal healthcare, and freedoms for your healthcare. I will explain it like this. It's very simple. Here's the talking point. It's left to the states. That's how the Constitution's written. If it's not in the Constitution, it's left to the states. If you don't like the rules of abortion where you live in your state, you could do two different things. You can advocate and put somebody in governor that's going to give you your late term and after and post term abortions, God forbid. But if that's really how you want to live, I mean, I guess it shouldn't be your choice, but that's what you do. That's why elections have consequences. And P.S., stolen elections have dire consequences, and that's what we're looking at right now. You want to talk about election integrity? I got people coming at me all the time saying, Eric, you're crazy, you're a radical. There was no widespread voter fraud. Guess what? The chickens have come home to roost. There's all kinds of information and lawsuits coming out, and we're winning them because the fraud did exist. And right now, the fraud that's existing in our elections, guess what's happening? And I predicted this also a long time ago. The left is going to eat the left. Right now in Minnesota, was it Minnesota or Michigan? I think it was Michigan, where they had all sorts of voter fraud, and they just lost the case and found out there is widespread voter fraud. What was it? The LGBTQIA plus communities kind of superheated, pissed off at the Muslim community because the Muslim and Islamist community was buying ballots from people and stealing elections. Okay. We're talking about the Squad, the Democrat Socialists of America, the commies. Okay. AOC, Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, all these people, they got elected somehow. They didn't get elected somehow. They cheated to get elected. They took mail-in ballots, okay, from people that had them ordered. They took them and then they voted for them the opposite way. That's what election fraud is. We're not saying that a whole bunch of millions of voters went out there and colluded with each other. These are Democrat operatives, activists, people that are maniacal. People don't want to live under a different rule of law than me and you based on the God-given rights that we were given under our Constitution. They don't believe in that at all, and they don't want us celebrating it. They don't want us having it. And therein lies the problem. And these people have infiltrated our public institutions, starting with the colleges and universities, and it trickles right back down to your pre-K to 8th grade to 12th grade students that are in these schools now being taught by these radicals. That's what's going on.
Well, it goes further than that with election fraud, too. I mean, I know I always harp on media. I think it's a big deal. Media can the force that media has is unbelievable. And I spoke about this before. I don't know if it was on a radio show or on our first episode. I'm not sure about Garm.
Garm.
Yeah,
Garm is gone, right?
yes,
Talk to us. What happened there?
Garm is gone.
Thank you, Elon.
Yes, thank you, Elon, very much, and the Daily Wire and everybody else that was involved with it. So Garm pretty much went out of business, and they said the reason why is that they didn't have the money to fight Elon Musk, in court, because what Garm did, Garm would censor conservative views, and they would allow far left views go through to the media, and they got caught with their pants down, and they had a congressional hearing. I believe, like I mentioned, Ben Shapiro or this morning, he was there at the congressional hearing. He talked about it. Elon Musk talked about it, and then they all filed suit against Garm, and Garm got their pants dropped, and they blamed it that they couldn't compete with the money that Elon Musk has. No, it's because you got embarrassed because they found you out. They found out what you were doing. So it was anti-American, and that goes into voter fraud too. I'll put that in there, because when you can only see, that's why we do this podcast, because when mainstream media only shows you certain things, and you have, people like Garm that censor things. And that's the main thing. I mean, nowadays, everything goes through media. Media is very powerful. They can sway elections in a moment. I mean, look at Kamala Harris. Look at Kamala Harris.
No, thank you.
But no, I'm not. but I'm saying, like, she was the worst vice president in history. She was at the 28% likability.
Yeah, but Damon, to your point, though, right? You look at oppress versus oppressor. Good, okay, is bad. Okay, strong is bad. Weak is very good. So she is a total winner, in her world, because she sucks at life so badly, and she wants to be the elected leader of the free world.
Well, no, thank
that's
you.
Insane. No, thank you. That'd be a big fat no, thank you to me. From me. How about number 8? Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. Let's just start with prevent World War III.
That sounds pretty
God
good to me.
willing, we can do that, because we are right there. Iran is a day away from having a nuclear weapon. They probably already have it. I mean, realistically, we are under threat from all angles. China is about to go into Taiwan. They're after the computer chips. By the way, Kamala Harris, wasn't she the border czar? Yes, but isn't she some other kind of czar? The AI czar? Okay, do you know what's going to happen with AI? They're going to use so much electricity that me and you, we're not going to have electricity. That's why they're trying to put up all these wind and solar deals. They're looking to take all the electricity out of us and give it to what they want to do, which is AI. That's going to replace everybody's jobs. And I don't mean everybody. Damon, you said, oh, well, guess what? I could swing a hammer pretty good. Guess what? It's going to come down to this. You can either lift a hammer or have one drop, okay? Bottom line is you both get paid the same. That's socialism. And no matter how good you are today, it doesn't matter. You're going to die anyway. And they're going to replace you with either illegal immigrants or young people through this education system that'll live on nothing, and they'll own nothing and be happy, just like Klaus Schwab wants. Okay. And that's what they're planning for us. I promise you. And there's one thing that's going to get in the way of that problem, of that solution that they have for us. And that is Donald Trump. And that is why they don't want him in office. That's why they're doing everything they can to keep him out of office. Look what they did 50 years ago. This week was the 50-year anniversary of the resignation of Richard Nixon. Okay. Was he a bad president? I've got news for you, folks. No, he was not. I watched a movie last night. It was really amazing, actually. What was the name of it? It was called Beyond Watergate, the Richard Nixon story. Just like in the Trump cases, okay, the CIA was involved on this Nixon deal and getting him out of office. He won the biggest landslide in American history. He won 49 states. The only state he lost was Massachusetts, and then he lost in Washington, D.C. Every other state he won, 360 electoral votes. Never happened before. The guy ended Vietnam. When he came in office, there was 352,000 troops in Vietnam, and he got that down to 50,000 within his first term, got a landslide elected. And then like 28 weeks or so into his presidency for the second time around, they came up with this Watergate scandal. What is this? Was it a scandal? Yes, it was somebody that broke in, mostly CIA operatives, that broke into the DNC, to the Democrat National Convention office in the Watergate Hotel. Okay. The problem is that all the people that were prosecuting were looking to take him out. It's the deep state. And now they found out they have actual evidence, all the receipts of what happened here. He would not have had to resign the presidency. He was doing a great job as president. Did he make a couple mistakes? Yes, he did. Did he lie to cover some things up? Yes, but nowhere near as bad as things that other people do on a daily basis. I mean, really, at the end of the day, that was a slap on the wrist type of thing that he was involved with. If you disagree with me, take a look at this movie. Okay, because I believe that the content of the movie is factual because they had the receipts. If it's okay, I'd like to show you what happened. And then you could remember what I'm getting at here. And that is, number one, they're not after Trump. They're after us, and he's standing in our way. And that is
Absolutely.
a fact. Okay, we both witnessed and had personal experience of the sort. Okay, that's number one. And number two, okay, the reason why they don't want him in is because he is the emblem of capitalism and freedom. And they do not want that. They want control and dominance and dominion over all humans on all earth with a one world government. And that's what they're after. And if we don't elect Donald Trump by using these methods, Turning Point Actions, Republican Jewish Coalition, I want you to go when it comes to school board to Chaos and Control, New Jersey Project, if you live in New Jersey. Take a look at Nick Stouffer's information. She's got it all. She's got all the goods on all the candidates. But take a look at the trailer for this film, and then go ahead and rent it or buy. I think I paid about $8.99 to watch the thing. I'm going to watch it again too. It was really good. Take a look.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Till now, the story of Watergate stood unchallenged.
There's been a lot of revisionist work done by scholars since then. People like Jeff Shepard have gone and gotten the records of the Watergate special prosecutor.
No one had really told our side of the Watergate story.
Documents are scary. They're written in the hands of the special prosecutor himself.
Did anybody see you come in here? They detailed secret meetings with a judge, arguments over who they should indict. It'll curl your hair.
Judge Sirica apparently believed he could call in prosecutors or they could talk to him anytime they wanted.
Good thinking.
I've been attorney general, I know. You appoint a special prosecutor, they think they've got to come up with something. And they can ruin lives that way.
The only reason I was a target was to get to the President of the United States.
Let's talk about Mr. Dean for just a second. No, you're no fall guy in the Watergate scandal.
I have the impression that you don't know everything I know.
And we've spun him into a whistleblower.
You're going to bribe a judge, don't put it in writing.
They all have a power that nobody can stop. Help bring down the president.
All right, everybody. So we're going to wrap it up here. So I want to thank everyone for watching, and I want to just say one thing. Before I said I was very worried, about what could happen in this election, but then I realized I have a quote that's on my wall. Like I said before, it's in my man cave, turned into a toy cave for my kids, which is a good thing. But it says the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing, and that's why Eric and I are out here doing this. And we're trying to reach everyone else to do the same thing. So get people out there to vote because, like I said, they do not want Trump in. They want control. And if you just take the time to open your eyes, like I said before, Republicans we're busy people. And not that Democrats aren't either, but we're more family oriented. I have 2 kids. Like yesterday, my day was swamped. Trying to get phone set up for my daughter. Taking my son for a haircut, taking my daughter to the movies. I mean, a lot of stuff was going on. I didn't even have a chance to turn the TV on. So I didn't even get a chance to research anything, what was going on that day in the news. But whenever you can, pay attention to it. And that's why we're here. That's why we want to get the message out to everybody. So please continue to watch Political Badass because we will just deliver you common sense, factual issues. Take it away, Eric.
I'm going to wrap it up today, but first I want to give you our coordinates. ericsimkin.com, ERICSIMKIN.com. Eric Simkin on Facebook, Simkin_Eric on Twitter. Damon's at Damon M. Galdo for Congress on Facebook and Twitter. And I'd like to leave it with this. My favorite person that I'd like to emulate in these types of situations is Stephen K. Bannon. He'd be saying today, ask yourself, what is your task and what is my purpose? And if that answer is to save my country, then this country will be saved. Thank you very much. Enjoy the music, and God bless America.
Now that's a
dancing in the flames, the people cursed his name, bowed at the altar of the father of lies. But there's a number to their days and all their evil ways. The Lord's gonna turn away from all their cries. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. Oh, get ready, 'cause the King is coming. The King is coming back again. Brimstone upon their heads, millstones around their necks. They'll feel the shaking when the trumpet sounds. And no matter where they hide, there'll be nowhere to run when Jesus puts his mighty foot on the ground. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. Oh, get ready, 'cause the King is coming. The King is coming back again. Like a lightning flash, their voice will wail and their teeth will gnash. And he'll set fire to the evil ones and all the wickedness they've done. There'll be no time to turn around as the stars begin to hit the ground and the mountains fall and the veil is torn with the sound of that seventh horn. Oh, revelation, I can feel it coming like a dark train running. Before his days were done, the King is coming, and it won't be long.
Last night I heard this politician talking about his brand new mission. Liked his plans, but they came undone when it got around to God and gun.